The explosion you just saw was not a simple transformer station burning in the heart of Russia. That black smoke you saw was not an ordinary warehouse burning in Crimea. This is the moment Putin lost the war. On the night of November 13th, Ukraine launched its largest attack to date against the territory of the Russian Federation. The Ukrainian General Staff personally confirmed this brutal attack. Look, this is not a swarm of UAVs. Forget that. This is the first official mission of Ukraine's own Flamingo and Bars cruise missiles. And these weapons rewrote all the rules on the Russian map on the night of November 13th. Dozens of high-value military targets in occupied Crimea and Zaporizhzhia, command centers, massive fuel depots, and airports were reduced to ashes within hours. And while all this was happening, the massive thermal power plant in Oryol collapsed. Cities are in darkness, the people are in panic. Russian air defenses, those vaunted S-400s and Pantsers, were completely ineffective against this new threat. At the moment of the attack, Oryol governor Andrei Klitschkov could not tell his panicked people to go to shelters, because there were no shelters. Instead, do you know what he said? Hide in the hallway, in the bathroom, in the closet. This is no joke. This is a Russian governor admitting the final outcome of Putin's 25-year promise of a strong Russia. On one side, confessions. On the other, threats. The regime's chief propagandist, Vladimir Solovyov, appeared on screen to hide the helplessness caused by the attack. Solovyov said that
Через Днепр должны быть разрушены, плотина Киевская должна быть разрушена, город должен быть затоплен.
Another Russian propagandist threatened the whole world with Russia's Poseidon nuclear torpedoes. Russia, unable to even stop the attacks, thought it could destroy Kiev. In the midst of this irony, what was Putin's Great Russia doing? Was it preparing nuclear missiles? No, its own citizens were setting fire to transformers in Irkutsk and railways in Leningrad for a few rubles. Yes, you heard right. For a few rubles in bribes, they were burning their own country on the instructions of telephone scammers. This was the pitiful state of Putin's patriotic people. Let's name all that was happening. Vladimir Putin has relied on one thing for decades: Russia's infinite greatness. No matter how badly things went on the front lines, he believed that Moscow, St. Petersburg, and those critical industrial facilities and arsenals at the foot of the Ural Mountains were safe. Until November 13th, in a historic announcement, the Ukrainian General Staff played its game-changing cards: Flamingo, Bars, Lyuty. These are Ukraine's own domestic products. This is the moment Putin's lie that the war will end if Western aid stops officially died. Flamingo has a range of 3,000 kilometers. This is not a simple technical detail. It means that every military base, every command bunker beyond Moscow, St. Petersburg, and the Urals is now a target. Putin thought he could destroy the war in Ukraine's cities. Now, the flames of that war are turning back toward his own capital. And these missiles weren't just designed to explode. Some were equipped with bunker-busting warheads capable of penetrating concrete up to 10 meters thick. Why is this information important? Because when we look at the targets struck on the night of November 13th, we see that this was not a terrorist attack, but a surgical operation. This was a decapitation operation, targeting Putin's generals, oligarchs, and warlords. This is a message sent to Moscow. The rules of war have changed. The war is no longer just on our territory. Now, nowhere is safe, and this is just the beginning. Indeed, President Zelensky said that serial production of these missiles will begin in January-February 2026. So, the nightmare Russia saw was just a preview. Until now, Russia believed that Ukraine could only conduct harassing fire with Soviet-era UAVs or modified missiles. Russian air defense systems were calibrated for these slow and easily detectable targets. On November 13th, they encountered cruise missiles that flew much faster, much lower, and were impossible to detect. And the result? A complete fiasco. The missile-like explosions reported by local residents in Oryol and the fiery debris raining down on residential areas, parking lots, and apartment courtyards. This proves that Russian air defenses could not stop the Flamingo, and perhaps only managed to strike it at the last moment, after it had reached its target, right above the city. The Telegram channel Supernova Plus confirmed that this debris belonged to Flamingo missiles. Instead of protecting its own people, Russian air defenses rained burning missile fragments down on its own citizens. If you want to measure the strength of a regime, look at what it tells its people in times of crisis. On the night of November 13th, as the Oriol thermal power plant burned in flames, millions of Russians faced the reality of war for the first time in their lives. Their windows shook, the power went out, and fire rained down from the sky. At 4:30 a.m., a missile threat alarm was sounded. The panicked public was at a loss as to what to do. So what did Governor Andrei Klitschkov, appointed by Putin, do to protect his people? The answer is a tragicomic confession that sums up the reality of civil defense in Russia in 2025. Governor Klitschkov told the public not to panic and then offered the following advice. If you are at home, hide in rooms with solid walls and no windows, in the hallway, bathroom, closet. If you are on the street, go to the nearest building or a suitable shelter. Let's pause and analyze this. This is a governor, in the capital of a region where millions of people live, unable to tell his people to go to a shelter, because there is no shelter system that can be used, or there is no planning that the people can trust. This shows that during Putin's 25 years in power, while spending billions of dollars on propaganda about Greater Russia and an invincible army, he completely forgot about civil defense infrastructure. While the war has been devastating Ukrainian cities for 2 years, Putin's governors couldn't even think to prepare their own cities for a missile attack. Why? Because they themselves believed the propaganda. They succumbed to the arrogance of "war will never reach us." Now, that arrogance is trapped inside a bathroom cabinet in Oriol. The governor later tried to downplay the damage, annoyed, saying, "Many vehicles and apartment balcony windows were damaged." But that cabinet advice had already recorded the regime's incompetence in history. Putin's chief propagandist, Vladimir Solovyov, exclaims, lost it on live TV.
Dnipro in Ukraine must be destroyed. The Kyiv Dam must be destroyed. The city must be flooded. Kharkiv must be destroyed. Mykolaiv, Odessa, Sumy wiped off the face of the earth, like Dnipropetrovsk and other cities. At the beginning, we warn if they do not understand, we carry it out.
This is a cry of desperation. It means, we can't protect our own cities, so let's completely destroy theirs. It is an admission of Ukraine's military success and how much they are suffering. At the same time, another Russian propagandist began threatening the whole world with Russia's nuclear torpedoes called Poseidon.
1-2 года будет принят на вооружение, но тем не менее Посейдон уже испытан.
Хотел бы посмотреть, как Посейдон работает.
They said they could, menacingly, easily wipe 2 continents off the face of the earth. So, is this disconnect from reality in the Kremlin limited to nuclear threats? No. In another program meant to showcase Russia's technological prowess, propagandist Solovyov berated the CEO of a company called Adol live on air because the humanoid robot he was presenting fell on stage.
Что зачем так рано? Владимир, вы зачем выползли на сцену? Вот этот позор вы показали зачем?
A Russian governor tells his people to hide in the closet. A Russian propagandist shouts, "We will destroy the whole world with nuclear weapons." The same propagandist has a nervous breakdown because a toy robot fell on stage. This is the schizophrenia of the Putin regime, an elite class completely detached from reality. A state that cannot even fit its own citizens into a closet, boasts about destroying the entire world, and at the same time is humiliated by a robot fiasco. This is a picture not of power, but of a complete loss of control. Putin promised his people stability and security. Today, all he offers is panic, nuclear threats, and a bathroom cabinet. This was just the tip of the iceberg. Although the media's attention was focused there, the target list released by the Ukrainian General Staff reveals how deep and strategic this attack was. This was not a retaliation targeting a single city. It was an all-out operation aimed at simultaneously cutting off the brain, logistics, and fuel supply of the Russian war machine. Let's look at where the targets were hit. Crimea is the main artery feeding Russia's southern front. What did Ukraine do to block this artery? The Morskoy Neftyanoy terminal was hit. This means cutting off the fuel supply for tanks, trucks, and helicopters heading to the front. Kirovske airport was also among the targets. This is no ordinary runway. It is a base where the Russians park their helicopters and, most importantly, store and prepare those Iranian-made UAVs that attack Ukrainian cities. Striking this base is a direct blow to Russia's terror capabilities. The Advanced Air Defense Radar Station in Yevpatoria, which they claim protects Crimea's airspace, was also among the targets. Ukraine not only attacked, but also blinded Russia. If the targets in Crimea were the arteries of the Russian army, the places hit in Zaporizhzhia were directly its brain. For months, Putin had been issuing orders to expand the occupation in Zaporizhzhia and launch new attacks. What was Ukraine's response? The 5th Combined Arms Army Forward Command Post was hit. The 127th Motorized Rifle Division Forward Command Post was hit. This means that Russian generals and colonels sitting in shelters were targeted. This means that Putin's command echelon, which issues orders to the front, has been introduced to Flamingo's bunker-busting warheads. In addition, another fuel depot near Berdyansk was hit, ensuring that Russian troops at the front would be left without fuel. And of course, mainland Russia. The General Staff confirmed that targets on the territory of the Russian Federation were hit, and that the damage is being assessed. So why was Oriol so important? The images show a huge hole in the main building of the Oriol thermal power plant, and the facility engulfed in flames. This not only plunged the civilian population into darkness, it also cut off power to nearby defense industry facilities, such as Orel Techmash. The Shahed launch base is the most important. Oriol is home to one of the main military bases from which Russian forces launch Iranian-made Shahed UAVs against Ukraine. It is reported that there are 8 ground launch pads at this base. So, by sending the Flamingo and UAVs to Oriol, Ukraine actually struck at the source of the terror. This is a symmetrical retaliation move that reverses Putin's energy war strategy and brings the war to Russia's doorstep. Putin launched 138 UAVs and an Iskander missile at Ukraine on the night of November 12th to 13th. Ukraine's response was to simultaneously destroy Russia's command centers, logistics, and terror bases. Putin's generals were at a loss as to what to do in the face of this complex attack. Ukraine's targeting of Russia's military and energy infrastructure with new weapons such as Flamingo is tantamount to pushing a giant that is already teetering. Because Putin's Russia is collapsing not only on the front lines, but also internally. The system is rotting from within, economically and socially. Let's look at the most concrete evidence of this. 500 million barrels of Russian oil stranded at sea. Ukraine's drone attacks in recent months have hit petrochemical plants like Orsk and Stavrolen so effectively that Russia can no longer process crude oil. According to Bloomberg, Russia has been forced to increase its exports, but there is no one to buy this oil. Currently, 500 million barrels of Russian oil are trapped in tankers in the oceans due to international sanctions and the inability to find buyers. This is a massive proof of how the main source of income financing Putin's war machine has been blocked. This is a logistical nightmare. But there is something more dangerous than economic collapse. Social collapse, betrayal. Putin's war has so corrupted the Russian state and impoverished its people that Russian citizens have now begun sabotaging their own country for money. This is not the work of Ukrainian partisans. This is the betrayal of Russian citizens themselves. In the last 24 hours, a woman in the Leningrad region set fire to electrical panels on the instructions of telephone scammers. She now faces up to 20 years in prison on charges of terrorism. At the same time, thousands of kilometers away, in the Irkutsk region, another 24-year-old woman set fire to a transformer cabin and a gas station. 38 homes were left without electricity. The reason? Again, the promise of money. Let's pause and look at this phenomenon. This means that the regime has completely lost control over its own people. Putin's patriotism propaganda has become less valuable than an empty stomach or the promise of money. The Russian people are either living in terrible poverty or hate the regime so much that they are willing to leave their neighbors without electricity or burn down their city's infrastructure for a few rubles. This is an even more dangerous threat to Putin than Flamingo missiles, because you can build air defenses against missiles. But what can you do against the betrayal of your own people? The state has become so weak that it cannot even protect television, its most powerful propaganda tool. Russian federal TV channels are being hacked in the midst of this chaos, and millions of Russians are suddenly watching how wrong it is to choose Russian patriotism. This is a systemic collapse. Putin's empire is being struck from the outside by Ukraine's high-tech missiles, while simultaneously rotting from the inside due to the betrayal of its own citizens, economic collapse, and the loss of the propaganda war. Meanwhile, Moscow, Kursk, and even the port of Taupsi on the Black Sea continue to be shaken by new drone alerts. Chaos has now become Russia's new normal. The war has returned to Putin's own home in a way he never expected, and this nightmare is just beginning. So, what are your thoughts on this matter? Please share your thoughts in the comments. To stay updated on new videos, please subscribe to our channel and don't forget to turn on notifications. Thank you for choosing us.